Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Accent Training Podcast, a podcast where I teach you to harness the sounds of the American accent. My name is Pat. I am your personal accent coach. However, today I'd like to talk a little bit less about accent and a little bit more about two words that people are not as confident with as they should be. These are the words farther and further. Farther and further. The concept here is actually pretty simple. Farther is used for a literal, physical distance. The 10-mile drive is farther than the 5-mile drive. This is the word that we use to compare the distances of two things. I'd like to point out in this word, farther, F-A-R-T-H-E-R, the vowel sound I'm using is a simple R, far, and then a flat ther. Farther, farther. Physical distance, a literal distance. Further, on the other hand, describes figurative distances, not literal distances, but figurative distances. For example, if you're describing progress, you could say we've gotten further today than we did yesterday. As in, today we've made more progress than we did yesterday. We've gotten further today than we did yesterday. Now, there is a subtle difference in the pronunciations between farther and further. As I pointed out, when we got that R, we're opening our mouth up, getting a clear ah sound, lax A, followed by an R, far, and then ther, going flat on that ending, ther, farther. When we say further, I'm not even pronouncing that U as a regular U, even though it's spelled F-U-R-T-H-E-R. I'm not pronouncing it like a regular U. Farther. That's too exaggerated. Instead, I'm keeping my teeth very close together. Further. This is that schwa R sound. Something that we explored, and I will add a link to that episode in the description of this one, so feel free to check that out if you want to work on your schwa R sound. But the key here is simply that you have your teeth close together and that you bend your tongue back into the R position. Now repeat this back to me. Further. Fur, stressed, rising in tone, ther. Flat and quick and quiet in tone, just like all ER word endings, further. Now repeat both these words back to me. Let's just feel the contrast in that muscle movement. Farther. We're lowering our jaw down, getting this ah, and then pulling back to the and then a ther. Schwa R. Farther. Literal, physical distance. Further. F-U-R-T-H-E-R. Figurative distances. A distance that isn't literally measured, but is more just an idea. Further. So what I'd like to do to practice this is a quick little exercise. I'm going to read out a handful of phrases. I've got about 5 phrases here. And each of these phrases is going to describe either a physical distance, a literal distance that can be measured in inches, miles, meters, kilometers, or a figurative distance, a distance which is more of a concept. It's imaginary. So listen closely and determine which word would be most appropriate. Further or farther? Sentence number 1. I live a little further down the road. Or, I live a little farther down the road. If you guessed farther, you are correct. Farther down the road. We can measure the road. Farther. Not further in this case. Next one. We've driven further than we expected. Or, we've driven farther than we expected. What do you think? Further or farther? Once again, farther is the correct answer here, getting that R. R. We've driven farther. We're talking about a real distance that we've traveled here. We've driven farther than we expected. Number 3. We'll see no further progress until you're ready. Or, we'll see no farther progress until you're ready. Which do you think? Further progress or farther progress? Further, that's it, my friend. We can't measure progress with a ruler, can we? Progress is a concept, it's imaginary, and it's subjective to whatever it is that you're working on. So in this case, we would say further. We'll see no further progress until you're ready. Sentence number 4. Robbie swam further than John. Or, Robbie swam farther than John. What do you think? Farther is the correct answer in this sentence. Because, again, we're talking about an actual distance. We're comparing the distances of these two people, Robbie and John. Robbie swam farther than John. And finally, sentence number 5. This is our final exercise for today. Let's take things a step further. Or, let's take things a step farther. What do you think? Further or farther? A step further or a step farther? Both can be appropriate with this word, step, because a step can be a physical distance, right? If we're saying literally one step farther, like move forward one step, let's take things literally one step farther. Or maybe you're carrying furniture up some stairs. I hate carrying furniture upstairs, but you gotta do it sometimes. And every once in a while, you take a little break, and then you say, okay, let's go one step farther. And in this case, we're talking about a physical distance, right? One step, one stair, one movement of your leg. And in a different context, this could be further. Because the word step doesn't have to mean a physical movement of your leg. A step can simply be something that needs to be accomplished, which makes it a concept, right? It's an idea in this context. It's not a physical step, it's just an idea. And so suppose that you're working on something with a team, and you simply say, let's take things a step further. It's like saying, we've seen some progress, we've accomplished our tasks, let's move forward. Let's see what's next. Let's take things a step further. So, just to recap, if you're moving furniture upstairs, it's a step farther. If you're organizing an event and you're taking things on one stage at a time to complete all of your tasks, then it's a step further. So now that you know about this, use it. That's how this is going to build. It's all about using it. It's about having a little bit of patience for yourself and trying to accomplish something brand new to take your skills forward. And it's a pretty simple way to do it, right? We're talking about a tiny 1% improvement. Less than 1% improvement on your overall language skills. But as I've said in the past, if we affect a 1% improvement every single day, that means that you're going to get 3 times better at that particular skill over the course of a year. So don't wait on this 1% improvement. Put it to work right away, further and farther. If you found some value here today, make sure you hit subscribe, and have a good one, folks.